everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Shifty's 49ers Talk. Today, we're going to be beginning a new series on this channel, and that is going to be previewing some of the biggest training camp battles for the 49ers in the 2022 season. Now, training camp is only a matter of days away, so we're going to start this series and we're going to pump out some videos before training camp begins, and also we'll update and we'll see how the battles are going throughout training camp and, of course, the preseason games as well. Now, in today's video, we're going to tackle one of the very few positions that are available on our defense for starting positions, that is, and that is going to be strong safety. So, without any further ado, let's get into that discussion. Now, in my eyes, there are three possible candidates for the starting strong safety position. And what we're going to do in this video is we're going to start from who I think is the least likely to claim that spot and work our way to the most likely to claim that spot. So we're going to kick it off with undrafted rookie ONeal Jr. from Texas A&M. Now, he has absolutely prototypical size for what we look for in a strong safety. He's 6'1", 210 pounds, fairly athletic, tested quite well at the combine too. So you got to like that for this kind of defense. Now, here's the thing. He's a rookie, and it takes some time to really acclimate yourself to the NFL. I was incredibly shocked that he went undrafted. Now, to me, I thought O'Neal was a 4th, 5th, 6th round kind of prospect. Ultimately, we were lucky to land him in the undrafted free agent pool, which works out well for us. And I think O'Neal Jr. is honestly, he's coming to a very good situation here in San Francisco. Gets to learn from a great defensive coordinator and gets to play with some really, really amazing teammates on the defense in particular. So I just don't think it's going to be very likely that he's going to be able to unseat a guy like Talanoah Hufanga, who we're going to talk about later, who's already been in the system for a year and shown some good things, as well as another player who's going to be in this video, George Odum, who's been in the NFL for 4 years and started 7 games last year for the Colts. So he really has an uphill battle. I'm not going to say it's impossible. Nothing really is impossible. And really in the NFL, we've seen everything and anything happen. So I'd say it's very slim that O'Neal Jr. claims that starting spot at the strong safety position, but I do think he will be a guy who actually will make our 53-man roster. Not only that, I think we'll see him, play some on special teams, and I'm really, really excited to see how he performs in the preseason. He's going to be one of those guys who I'm really going to keep an eye on watching those games. So I really don't think it's going to be likely that he can claim that spot unless he just comes in and absolutely shines, but we'll see how it goes. I do like his potential. He's a potential long-term guy, in my opinion. Now, moving on to the second candidate for the starting strong safety position, and that is going to be free agent pickup George Odum, who we got from the Indianapolis Colts. Now, we signed him to a very reasonable deal. I really like the deal, not only because, of course, he has some experience playing in a position that, we're not sure if who's the starter is yet, but George Odum fills a massive, massive need for our special teams. In 2020, he was a first-team All-Pro for his special teams abilities. If anything that we saw last year, our special teams were not good. They stepped up against Green Bay, but Green Bay were probably the only team who had worse special teams than we did. So many times, if you guys tuned in for any of my streams, I really didn't like it whenever we do the kickoff, and if it didn't get touched back, then man, I was nervous every time. I think having a guy like George Odum out there is really going to help in terms of limiting field position for the other teams. So he's a really fantastic pickup there. But let's now bring it back to the strong safety position. So George Odum has done some really good things. Well, let's get a little bit of history on him. He's been in the league for 4 years, undrafted out of Central Arkansas. Again, has that prototypical size we look for. He's 6'1", 202. He's 28 years old, so he's definitely older than the other two candidates that are on this video. Now, here's the thing. He did play in 17 games last year, started 7 of them, and he had a couple of turnovers, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception. So that's more than what we can say for some of the other guys, even on the team last year. Jaquiski Tart. Now, something that I do like about George Odum last year is that we know in this defense it's so important to be able to tackle and not miss tackles. So many times, especially our defensive backs, we play back a little bit, we give up the little dump off, the short yardage play, and then we have to make sure that we wrap up. He only had a 6.8% missed tackle rate last year, so that's really solid for that position, considering there's like so many athletic running backs, wide receivers, and even tight ends now in the league. So really impressive stuff there by George Odum. Couple of things though that were not so great. Last year gave up 3 touchdowns in coverage. Not the worst, but definitely not the best. The one concerning thing though is that when he was targeted, quarterbacks had 123 ratings. So not great. And then overall, again, I don't think that PFF is ever gospel or is, 100% accurate, but he had a 62.9 PFF rating, which is very average. Now, ultimately, I think that what the 49ers will ask of George Odum is, of course, to be that special teams ace, and then he needs to learn the defensive scheme so that if anything should happen to Hufanga, then Odum can come right in. Now, look, there is going to be a battle in training camp. Maybe Odum impresses so much that we just can't keep him off the field on defense. Look, I really hope that all of these guys, they really, fight for that spot. So it really brings out the best, in these guys. And the one thing which I like about Hufanga and I like about ONeal Jr. and Odum too is that they're very competitive. You can tell that they really just, they're supremely confident, they're aggressive, they're competitive. So I think that there's really good things that can happen here. I think the Niners with Jaquiski Tartt, who's kind of held down this position for a number of years, he was just a solid guy. He'll kind of be in the right place at the right time. Not really going to make the big play, though. So I think they're really hoping to see more turnovers from that position. We saw Odum have 2 turnovers in fairly limited time, so that bodes well. I think there's going to be times where we'll see Odum out there at the strong safety position. Now, moving on to my most likely candidate who will start at strong safety for this coming season for the Niners, and that's going to be Talanoa Hufanga. So last year we drafted him out of USC in the 5th round. Really, you can tell there's a theme here. He has that size, 6 foot, 200 pounds. Ran a 4.65 40, which is not elite, but is actually, considering his size, considering how he plays, is actually pretty darn solid. When we look at what Hufanga did last year, he appeared in 17 games. That includes the playoffs. He started 3 of them. Now, I think the one way to describe, Hufanga last year was inconsistent, but that's to be expected from a 5th round rookie. There's definitely some bright moments throughout the year. I think we saw that in the playoffs against Green Bay. Not only, of course, picking up the blocked punt, taking it in for the touchdown. But if you think about it, one of Green Bay's last plays of the game on offense for them was Rodgers throws it deep. Now, there was double coverage. We had Hufanga and Dante Johnson, but it was Hufanga who really came up with the pass breakup there. So fantastic job. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the league throwing it to one of the best wide receivers in the league, and he's able to make the play to break up the pass. So really impressive stuff there. On the other hand, there was some not so great stuff. I think the game that really sticks out really in a negative way for Hufanga was probably the game against Minnesota. There was a couple of touchdowns that Adam Thielen had. One of them was for sure on Hufanga, the way that he read the play and the way that he just played it, put himself in a really bad position, and then Thielen was able to get the touchdown. So, of course, there's going to be opportunities to improve. So, here's the thing, with what favors Hufanga to start for this coming season. He's already been in this system for a year. He's very familiar with D'Amico Ryan's system. He's familiar with guys like Jimmy Ward, Emmanuel Mosley in the secondary, Ambry Thomas. So there's chemistry there. And that's something that's incredibly important for a secondary, to be able to almost have that, sense of where, this is how this guy's going to play. So that definitely gives Hufanga the edge in terms of this battle. Not only that, I do like how he approaches the game. Very physical, very aggressive. And I think we might see slight differences in the way D'Amico runs the defense, where I think we're going to see Hufanga in the box quite a bit more than what we saw Jaquiski Tartt. Might even see him blitz a little bit more too than what we saw of Jaquiski Tartt as well. Now, The other thing that really helps favor Hufanga in terms of this battle is, he still has a lot of potential. A guy like Odum has been in the league for 4 years. Hufanga is entering his second year. He's only 23 years old, so there's definitely still a lot of room for growth. I love that he worked with Troy Polamalu in the offseason. Hopefully he was able to absorb as much information from Troy as possible. I don't really think Hufanga is, going to be on the level of a Polamalu who was just incredible. But it's great to see that he's working and he's looking to constantly improve his craft. I think Jimmy Ward gave him a huge vote of confidence, saying that they're the best safety duo in the league, or something to that effect. So Hufanga definitely is in the driver's seat to take this spot. I really hope he can just take it by the horns, really, really, really become a solid contributing starting strong safety, because we need it. The one thing which I really hope to see from Hufanga in terms of his improvement, his development, is just being able to get those big plays, get the turnovers. That's something that we've just been lacking so much. I liked Jaquaski Tart. I've mentioned that many times on this channel. He's solid, but we want someone who can be a little bit more than that. I'm okay, maybe him not necessarily always making the safe play. Maybe he misses a tackle, but if he goes to make the huge play with a forced fumble, with an interception, I think we'd really, really like to see that out of our defense this coming season, to have those splash plays, because they were missing. It wasn't really until later in the year till we started seeing the defense make some bigger plays. So I'm really excited for Hufanga's potential. I know earlier I mentioned really excited to see ONeal Jr. in preseason. Odds are he'll probably play a lot of the third, fourth quarters in those 3 preseason games. But Hufanga is someone that definitely sticks out to me in terms of someone who I'll have to keep an eye on defense, just because it's such an important position, really, because we don't have a entrenched starter like we do at pretty much every other position on defense. The only other position really that I think that there's going to be a competition for a starting spot is going to be at that other defensive end opposite Nick Bosa. Honestly, every other position, in my opinion, is fairly locked up. So this is a big thing. I can't wait to see what happens. I really like Hufanga's potential. Can't wait to see all these guys. Training camp, it's so close. It feels like it's so close, yet it's so far away. I'm going to try and make it down to Santa Clara to attend one of the training camp sessions, and I can't wait for preseason games, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So stick around, guys, because there's going to be a bunch more videos on previewing training camp battles. Of course, I'll be continuing my mini series on the top 20 most valuable 49ers for the upcoming season. And as always, leave comments. Who do you think will take the starting strong safety spot? Are there any dark horses maybe that I haven't mentioned? How do you feel about the starting strong about these guys? Are we happy where we're at? Do we think we could maybe swing a trade? All of those things. I love to have the discussion in the comments. Like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. And guys, I'm going to say 2 things right now. The butt counts, and I'm going to catch y'all on the flip side.